long have you been volunteering with the Fairfield Association?
Yeah, I was just thinking, it must be over maybe 4 or 5 years now altogether.
And what sort of made you want to volunteer? Is there anything in particular, or did you just fancy giving it a go?
That's a good question. I think it's kind of working outside and helping this beautiful area. I used to have a walk here every morning before work, and it just set me up for the day, and I just thought how fortunate we are to have all this lovely natural area just on our doorstep.
How do you feel knowing that your work helps the community with lockdown and getting people out?
Well, whenever I see families out with small children and their faces are just lit up with delight to be out in nature, then it's all worth it. All the nettle stings and certain cuts I have got, even though they're very safety conscious here, but it's all worth it.
What would you say the association's taught you? Have you learned anything?
Perhaps humility. As I said, my husband is a farmer and I was a university professor in Japan. I just assumed, not that I was better than him, but that I knew more things somehow. But now I realize that was completely misplaced sort of confidence, or it's completely wrong. People who work with their hands, who can help make things grow, who can make things, I feel such respect for them now.
As a volunteer, how do you feel knowing that your kind of contributions enable families to come to places like this?
I think it really matters to me because obviously not everyone has a garden or their own space, so when you don't, it's so important to have something that you can access easily in walking distance. And like for myself and my daughter in lockdown, it's been amazing. She's been very ill, she uses a wheelchair. We can get round here. We meet my parents here when we couldn't meet other places. You know, it was a wonderful place to meet up with family.
Do you or any of your family have a particular place around about this area that you like to go to the most, or a particular view?
Ooh. I think we probably quite like I'd say the orchard, because I come here for picnics, family picnics, and my little goddaughter, you know, obviously she's got the willow tunnel she can go and run around in, but just showing her things like the tiny little apples after the blossom before they've, you know, fully developed. That's really good fun.
You'd sit down at tea break with about 12 of you and have a good chat, and there's such interesting people that volunteer with us. I mean, and I've met so many fascinating people, and it just broadens your outlook and ideas and what have you. So I think that's the best, and being outside obviously.
What would you say to members of the local community who are thinking about getting involved here? Do it.
Really? Yeah, have go. It'd be nice to get some younger people,
yeah,
in different age groups, but I know there's a lot of pressure on, either people have got jobs or they've got kids or whatever. But I think the thing I've found about this particular volunteering group, they're very welcoming of younger people. We've had quite a few students come along, just for short periods, and we've had a couple of people with health problems and what have you. So I think it's unique, really.
What would you like to say to the volunteers who keep up the reserve for everyone in Lancaster?
I think we do a wonderful job. It's been a real asset, this. I mean, we lived here about 30 years and before this was all here, and it's just made such a difference.
What made you want to volunteer?
Well, I only discovered the orchard last year, and I took loads of apples and was making like crumbles and things. And I'm walking my new dog through here as well, and I just keep sort of seeing, you know, that things need doing. I thought, oh, it'd be nice to help out. And I'm new to the area, so I thought it'd be a way to meet friends. But I love the fact that Lancaster's so community-minded, and I want to encourage that and do as much voluntary work as I can.
So what sort of tasks do you do in particular around the nature reserve?
So one of the lovely things about this is you don't know what you're going to be doing. So you could be knee-deep in water, you know, trying to sort out the willow. We do a lot of cutting back of weeds and bramble and all that as well. We do quite a bit of building, fencing, all that is done by us. So you get a chance to do things that you never know about.
What would you say to other mothers for their children to come here? What would you encourage them to do?
I think coming all year round, you've got to come and see everything, see the seasons, you know. Children live in such built-up areas now, and there's a lot of concentration on studying and getting through exams, but to come out and see the blossom, see the insects as they emerge and the different butterflies, the birds, you know, young birds coming down to when the parents feed them. But even wet days when you can splash around in Wellington boots and all of that, I think it's so valuable for children. There's so much you can learn, and just that appreciation and wonder of the natural world that hopefully they develop.
And there's all various spin-offs. I mean, for example, a walking group's come out of this group of volunteers, and now a book is being produced from the walking group about the walks. And the walks themselves are very fascinating because there's very knowledgeable people here who know about, you know, ecology and fauna and all that. So yeah, there's all sorts of spin-offs, I think.
Oh, I didn't realise there's things like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's growing and growing, and the interesting thing I think is that, you know, sometimes it's almost like Ian says, do you know, we have to work in a kind of old-fashioned way. So, for example, cutting the hedges, you could use a hedge trimmer, and one person can do it in an hour, but we choose not to do that and all do it by hand. So it takes 5 of us all morning. But in doing it, we're out in the fresh air, we're exercising, we're communicating, and you know, it's a different way of doing jobs. It's the opposite to how you'd imagine. You know, we're trying not to do things in the most kind of efficient way, but also in a way that involves lots of people.
Well, it's quite a lot of fun. It feels like you're giving back, which is really nice. It is a time commitment, but it's not a big one because it's only once a month. And yeah, I think it's a really good thing to do, especially because you learn quite a lot about just different skills. Like we learned how to sharpen shears just now, how low you're supposed to cut things. I remember last year we were going around putting stakes in the fields of the farm, and knew where not to mow for the wildflower borders. So you learn a lot about what people running a nature reserve have to think about.
It's just a group of people that enjoy being out in the open and learning some new skills.
What sort of skills have you learned?
Well, basically my interest has got into the fruit, and so I've learned how to prune the apple trees correctly. And there's far more here that needs looking after, and more people, the less work each has to do.
I live in this area, and I come along on Wednesdays not just to volunteer by having the fun of digging up weeds, but to be with other people who live in this area so that lots of people can each do a little. Because if a lot of people all do a little, we can make not just this area a better place, but we can make the world a better place.